This can be a
disaster.
separate.
You're separate from me. So.
I know, but if you're like, oh wait, I need 5 minutes.
Then we take 5 minutes. We do it live.
We do it live. Okay.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. We're so glad to have you. My internet's not really working. So
Oh no. Shoot.
I can't load up the chats. I'm not quite getting anything going here. I'm not sure what's going on.
I guess this show will just be from the hip.
Well, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Ron was like, should we delay starting like 5 minutes so you get your internet reset? And I was like, nah. We'll just figure it out. But now I'm doing this and I'm like, maybe I should have waited 5
Like
minutes.
we're gonna pretend we're pros or something.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, man. That like my pages aren't. It's clearly on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay.
Especially if we're streaming.
Who's in the room? You're gonna have to tell me what people say because
let's
I'm not
see.
able to see it.
Maybe our internet is bad. Well, no, they're starting to file in. There we go.
Peeling in.
Pony Boys, good morning. John Attakus, good morning from Meridian.
Oh. Yeah, let people tell us where you're coming from. See if we have any clusters. I know we got a couple in Texas. We got a couple in Michigan.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This is bad. What am I going to do here?
I don't know.
I don't know, Ron. I don't
Am
know.
I going to have to run the show?
This is not...
It's going to be a bad show.
The problem is I can't manipulate the videos like I need to. It's never happened to me before. All right, well, let's start out with some Dan Carlin.
Oh.
Dan Carlin had a little bit on assassinations, and I think he's pretty right. And Dad, by the way, there's possibly a swear word in here. This is a comedian.
Well, I'm sure he knows who Dan Carlin is.
I don't know that he does.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Oh,
I doubt my dad knows who he is. So anyways, Dad, this is a old comedian that sometimes used swear words. So, just FYI. All right, this is Dan Carlin talking about assassinations.
Assassination. You know what's interesting about assassination? Well, not only does it change those popularity polls in a big fucking hurry, but it's also interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. Do you ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon. They all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam! Right in the fucking head.
All right, it's not funny.
maybe this is bad timing.
It is bad timing. Is it too soon? This was Henry David Thoreau basically made the same comment, right? Why is it that they always call Jefferson and Franklin or Washington and Franklin rebels, right? And why do they call Jesus a insurrectionist? And why do they call God, like why? Like these end up being revered by in the future. And it kind of goes with the whole you stone the prophets when they're living, but then when they're dead, you revere them. So yeah, there's another thing going on too. And okay. The whole premise of the show is we're peasants, right? We have to live here. So things like political divides, it's artificial, right? At the end of the day, you're still my neighbor. I have to live with you. Yeah. I have to figure out how to negotiate property lines and, all the things that I have to live with these people. I have to live with my neighbors. I don't have to live with people in New York City. They're too far from me. It's almost no consequence outside of financial matrix stuff, right? What happens in New York? If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? I don't know. What's going on in Burma right now? The heck if I know, right? I'm a peasant. I care about what's happening in the Pacific Northwest. Okay. Yeah. Now, I do care about what's happening in the world because I'm a human. And, you know, if there's injustice somewhere, there's injustice for all of us. This is why the arc of justice over time bend towards justice, right? It's because the people recognize, hey, I got to live with us. So let's compromise. Let's figure out a way to live together. So that's the premise of this show. This is not a team play show. This isn't a red blue show. This isn't a show where everything the blue does is bad or everything the red does is bad. Competent people that have real intention can debate ideas. There's a reasonable debate in a country as wealthy as we are about healthcare, right? There's a reasonable debate that an American citizen who contributes to society could expect a social safety net. That's a reasonable discussion with a country as wealthy as we are, right? It's no different than if a family's really wealthy. Do you really let your little brother suffer and while and toil with no resources? No, you take care of the family member. You help them put them on their feet. We are a big family. We're peasants. We have to live here. So it's not about red or blue. It's not about it is about who's right or wrong, right? But it's not about what team wins or what team loses. What always wins is the same thing that always has won and always will win. You know what it is? Truth. Truth always wins. I'm concerned about the truth, right? I recognize facts are on the moon sometimes. Sometimes the details matter deeply and sometimes they don't matter at all. When we're talking about the zeitgeist that's out there, what people believe, how their daily operations are, the zeitgeist matters, right? The narrative matters. When it comes down to the details on what really happens, that's where truth comes through. And then you can kind of dispel the narrative, the zeitgeist. And there are things that the world is walking around in complete delusion. Half the world thinks that Trump was a Russian stooge. Complete and total delusion, right? But then half the world will also think that, I'm trying to think of a good example. You know, half the world will think that Palantir is a really good idea. They're living in delusion, right? There's stupid things that both teams do. I wrote about this in Common Sense Applied Today, right? The red-blue paradigm. We have basically made the two political parties a conglomerate of the king. Right? They get to pick who rules us. They get to pick who goes to the upper and lower chambers. They get to decide and lobby for what policies. They get to fundraise based on promises made that they have no ability to help keep. They're not the people. They're just influencers, right? But they'll get lobbyists and they'll go, oh yeah, the Republicans are all about free trade or, you know, take our factories, right? And then you've got the Democrats that are like, we're all about gun control. So no matter what, we're always taking the guns. That is always the solution, okay? And that's paid for and it's pushed through the parties and it's become this like royal zeitgeist. This is the way it has to be, right? I want the truth. I don't want to do deep dive. I mean, I do deep dives to determine things, but the details, like, for example, in this Charlie Kirk shooting, okay, we're 48 hours out. There's conspiracy theories. Why is the F on his shirt going away? The ring. And then we find out he was actually shot in the chest right around the F and it ricocheted because he was actually wearing a bulletproof vest. Oh, information we didn't have. So it ricocheted up into his throat. So you've got guys out there being like, oh, as an assassin, we're trying to shoot to center mass. A neck shot. Yeah, that's flashy, but it's super inconsistent. And it's like, oh, no, he was shot center mass. It ricocheted. Oh, but now we see the gun and it's a piece of crap, hunting rifle and the scope's mounted wrong. The scope's not mounted right. So somebody posted, some person's like, we're looking for a man with a black eye. Right? We're gonna hit the eye with the scope. They're like, there's no way this guy's a professional. First of all, he's using a $300 gun, which can make the shot. 200-yard shot, not a hard shot. Okay. Yeah. I could make the shot. And I'm not saying that because I'm special. I'm just saying that because I've been deer hunting.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's nothing.
It's nothing. Okay. So the shot's not hard. Then we hear that he's on the roof, but his clothes were the same color as the roof. And now it's all black. Oh, okay. So he was one color clothes. Now he's wearing all black clothes. Yeah. Okay. And then he climbed up, he walks down the street and we're seeing footage of doorbell cameras with a guy walking down the street limping because he's got the rifle down his pant leg. But then we see him jumping off a roof, no rifle, and running away. But then they say they found the rifle out in the field. But guess what? It's in the box from the store. So he transported the box in his pants or just the rifle? Okay,
Right.
he jumped off the roof with or without the rifle. Did he throw it down before? I mean, there's some possibilities that the rifle, got in front of him and he jumped down and went and grabbed it, but we're not seeing that in the video. And okay, it was in a box. We got pictures, but the initial reports was it was wrapped up in a towel.
Right.
You see, okay, so I'm fog of war, information's coming out there, stuff circulating around the internet, can't trust anything. So at this point now we're just sitting back and waiting.
And how many of those details really matter?
Some of them do, some of them don't, right? Again, if the narrative is this is a far left extremist, tranny, and look at all the evidence we found, but the evidence is inconsistent, but it's like back made, you know what I'm saying? Then we're like, oh, okay. Now here's the other thing too. The FBI, and I said this when Thomas Crooks shot Donald Trump, I wrote it down from prison, had it published. We are never going to know anything other than a crook shot Trump. And guess what? Here we are a year plus out. And what do we know? A crook shot Trump. We don't know anything. In Michigan, when there was a school shooting, they prosecuted the parents. They're sitting in prison right now because their child got access to a gun. So here we have an 18-year-old who shoots Donald Trump, who's still living at home, who had a gun bought for him. Where are the parents? Why haven't we seen them dragged out and questioned? No, we don't see any of that. The most we're ever going to know is a crook shot Trump, which then leads into, was it a bigger, operation? Are feds involved? Why did the trail run cold? Seriously.
Yeah.
What's going on here? So here we have this shooting of Charlie Kirk, and the details aren't adding up. And good, decent people like Michael Savage, right, is pointing things out. Now, Michael Savage is also going to mention here, he's been iced out from this administration. He's a good friend of Trump, but he can't get any access to him. And he believes it's because he's a truth teller. But other people like Sean Hannity are pushing the narrative.
Something's wrong. I know I shouldn't do this. I'm risking an awful lot to go up against this FBI, the MAGA FBI. Something's very wrong with what I just heard. I mean, I watched it. I was hoping that they had caught the bastard who shot Charlie. So we saw a video of a person jumping off the roof. It looked very legitimate to me. However, there was no rifle in his hand. Now, the Mauser does not break down very easily, incidentally, for those of you who know weapons. Something's wrong with the whole thing. They're trying to claim he removed the barrel from the Mauser and fit the receiver and stock in his backpack and barrel in his pants leg all in 2 seconds. It is not easy to remove a Mauser barrel or index it after reinstalling and remain accurate. We are not hearing us.
So basically, he's got a hunting rifle, and it's not a super expensive breakdown one that's designed to break apart. To take the barrel off, it's like you need a press, a vise.
Yeah.
Like this isn't the kind of rifle that is a takedown. They call them takedown rifles, where they break in two. And
Right.
so it's like, so he took the barrel off and then reinstalled it. And if you understand guns like this, it's like you got to like. He's talking about indexing it. It's like timing on a car.
It's impossible.
You got to get it just in
It's
the right
basically
spot.
impossible.
It's completely impractical to think that he disassembled it on the roof and put it in his bag.
Reality. And by the way, the photo of the rifle allegedly left in the woods has the barrel installed. So we're supposed to believe a guy is on the run after killing Charlie Kirk, and he pauses in the woods to reinstall a barrel, and he leaves it for us to find, the FBI to find. I don't believe a word of it. I shouldn't do this. I know I'm putting myself at risk, but I can't take it anymore. I can't take the bullshit from this fucking government. It's lying to us. Something's wrong. Something's so wrong. It's sickening. Look at this idiot. They found the rifle and they're getting the prints. Are you stupid? Are you that stupid? Are you that dumb? The man jumps off the roof. There's no rifle there. Oh, it's in his backpack. I just told you, moron, that this rifle doesn't break down that easily. And then it's supposed to be reassembled while he's on the run. Wait, I'll stop now and reassemble it and leave it in the woods in a box, wrapped in a towel. He left breadcrumbs. Oh, and the trans stuff on the cartridges. Bullshit.
Okay, so they say, well, in the gun, the cartridges had trans writing on it, right?
Right.
Just like this shooter that we just had a couple weeks ago. Where was it?
Luigi Mangione.
No, not well. Luigi did that, but there was another shooter that did this. That just the trans shooter that was up.
Yeah.
Was it Minnesota? Forgive me, I forget the location. Anyways, they were just doing the same thing. So it's like, okay, if this is, again, we can only speculate, right? If this is a professional hit job, seems like it would be a good idea to set breadcrumbs that.
How many times have you written words on bullets?
I've never done it. I mean,
never done it either.
I was accused of insurrection at the United States Capitol, and I came with a scarf and a puffy vest. So, I don't think you need weapons to really overthrow the government. I thought you could do it with your voice and peacefully. I think I was quoted saying, "We're only using our body." So, to me, it's like Tai Chi. So, yeah. No, I have never written on cartridge shells.
I'm just throwing that out there to all you people that shoot. Even reloaders. I mean, how many of you have engraved your bullets or casings? It's ridiculous.
Or written on them. Yeah. No, I get it. There's probably some ritual to a killing like this. You know what I mean? You got to get in the right mind space. I'm making light of it, but it's like really serious here, right? Something stinks with this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
We can't trust the government. We haven't been able to trust the government, I don't know, since shortly after noon on July 4th, 1775, 6. You know what I mean? This is what governments do. And this is what I'm afraid of. This is just another, it's like we just have a different dictator holding the tools, right? And we just pray. We pray that Donald Trump is the philosopher king. Right. Because we've given the executive branch so much power. The legislative branch is so neutral and they can't agree on anything. The judicial branch, I don't know what's going on over there. Please, philosopher king. But yet the tools he's using are these same tools that have been weaponized. And they can just be re-weaponized against the left. Yeah. I remember when Biden won, people were getting blown off the internet, losing their jobs because they said something that wasn't, copacetic about J6. Everybody had to get out and make their statements. And I suffered the fallout of that. Lies were cast. It was put into the zeitgeist. People lost their jobs. People got debanked, all for making a comment online. And guess what's happening right now? Leftists are losing their jobs. I haven't heard of any of them getting debanked yet. That. But, they're losing their jobs. They're getting doxxed online. It's the very thing that happened to Republicans 4 years ago now is happening to them. And it's just been a constant back and forth, right? It's just this doxing war. This is the war. It's online, right? It's online. And the question is, our betters, is it going to affect us in real life?
Should we all just unplug?
Oh my gosh, it would be nice. Just listen to the show for an hour and a half. Do your repost and away we go. Which, by the way, listeners, please repost the show. That was excellent yesterday. We had a huge bump in our numbers. So please, yes, repost the show. Just make that a habit. You come into the stream, repost. You're listening later, go repost. Shocking how much reach. Even if you only have a couple people in your Rumble that follow you back or whatever, it makes a big difference. Okay, so let's finish listening to Michael Savage.
All right. Is wrong with this whole fucking picture.
Sorry, Dad.
I am persona non grata in this White House. I will tell you right now, I flew with Donald Trump in Air Force One. I consider him close to me. I have not been able to get near him since this administration took hold. They have thrown me out. They've castigated, thrown me in the desert. They don't want me near them. They don't want real truth tellers near them. Sean Hannity, immediately, that pimp scumbag, goes on the air and repeats the government lie, that lousy son of a bitch. How the fuck does Sean Hannity...
Oof.
Sorry, Dad. My dad might be tuning out. He says 3 is his limit.
Oh, no. We don't have a dump button.
And he had the... Sean, you know what? Kept animal. You're like a whore. Kept in a brothel. Sean Hannity, you've always been a whore in a brothel. You have hit a new low, Hannity.
Whoa.
And
can we skip some of that?
Something's wrong. Somebody killed this young guy. And everyone is asking who done it. And we're supposed to believe they think we're this stupid. So Kash Patel is there. He doesn't say a word. And Donald Trump's in the Yankee Stadium. What the hell is going on here? I'm just an American citizen who's been in the business of observing since I'm 18 years old. And I don't buy one word of this narrative, not one single word. So I'm going to end in a moment.
Oh, looks like the internet ended you. I think I'm under cyber attack, Ron.
Yeah.
None of my stuff works. How are we doing on the chats?
Doing good.
Anybody saying anything interesting?
Oh, you can't read it. That's right.
No, I can't. I'm literally flying half blind over here.
Carlito,
and extremism.
Carlito and Tiffany, good morning. They announced the shooter's name, Tyler Robinson. Let's see. Carlito said the same thing.
So basically, everybody we thought it was that the 4chan sleuths were finding out is not it, because that's the first time I've heard that name.
Right. Debbie B, Catholic school, church. Oh, from Minnesota.
Oh, great.
She was just telling us where she's from.
Awesome.
That's it.
Okay. So this is a little video. It's kind of a spoof on the Joker video, but it has clips of the Democrats, inciting violence.
Oh, no.
And this is the other narrative now that's coming out here. It's who's inciting all this violence?
Right.
Who's doing it? You're doing it. I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
commentators.
So this is just kind of to remind us all the times that the Democrats have riled up their jokers out there.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
She's a genuine danger to American security.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
We have to preserve our democracy, or speak out against lies and hate.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy. Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms.
Kamala needs to stop saying that President Trump is a threat to democracy. It's now being received by some unhinged people as a call to action. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
Whoa. I've never seen that movie.
It's pretty intense, huh?
Yeah.
So this is the young man that was asking Charlie Kirk a question the moment he was shot. His name is Hunter. And this is kind of fascinating. Again, who's living in delusion?
And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was.
Oh.
Right before he got shot. And that only makes sense if we stay peaceful. And as much as I disagree with Charlie Kirk, I'm on the record for how much I disagree with Charlie Kirk, but man, dude, he is still a human being. Have we forgotten that? Are we crazy? And people have.
So his whole the whole question he was trying to ask was to lead to the point to say the left is peaceful.
Right.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. This narrative that the left is peaceful is being pushed by people like Jasmine Crockett. Listen to how definitive she is about this.
The violence doesn't come from Democrats, just to be clear. I mean, obviously anyone can be a criminal, but it is MAGA. It's specifically MAGA faction. I don't think traditional Republicans are getting engaged in all of this, but even when we look at, and they don't talk about the assassination attempts anymore that took place with Donald Trump, but these were Trump supporters. Right?
Oh, were they?
The violence doesn't come from them.
Oh, so they were Trump supporters, right? Right. Yeah.
Well, they had their red magazine.
I know. I shoot the people I support. To me, I'm straight to heaven.
Hey, back at you.
If you love them, kill them.
Love you, brother. Pow.
Pow. Again, another myth. These were MAGA supporters that did that. The left, they're totally peaceful. They never have any problems at all. Chip Roy would disagree, right? So now keep in mind, we're peasants. We have to live here. So if my neighbor is a leftist, he thinks that MAGA is the problem. I'm MAGA, so I think the left is a problem. So what's going on now? Now we're at war, or are we just neighbors? Okay. Here's Chip Roy using similar incendiary language about the situation.
We're unable to live free because we're not secure. We're not secure.
Of course.
Because radical politicians and judges and NGOs.
By the way, the debate is not security and freedom, right?
Right.
Like if you're trading, we can't be free because we're not secure. So give us some of your freedom so we can get you secure, and then we'll let you lose. Right. Been down this path before.
Working furiously for political gain and political purposes to advance a radical Marxist ideology to undermine your security. It is a war on our way of life. It is a war on Western civilization itself. It is a war on the Constitution and the rule of law.
I agree with what Chip Roy's saying. The problem is in the minutia of all this, how can I differentiate between Jasmine Crockett and Chip Roy? Now, I have my opinions, right? I know where I stand in the fight against Marxism and collectivism. I do believe that we are in a civil war of sorts, right? Maybe not hot. It's feeling a little, temperature's going up a little, okay? But do you see how the rhetoric is identical?
What I'm afraid of is going to happen here is that, you know, the politicians are going to be like, hey, you know that Patriot Act thing? Hold my beer. Watch this. You know? And they're all going to try to get even more of our rights and our freedoms and in this name of security.
This is what I'm afraid of. And the shots are being fired back and forth. So here's Seth Moulton, Democrats representative. And this is a little hit home for me.
These groups that are out there on the internet or maybe even on TV actually calling to up the political violence. We're hearing that a lot from the right now. Democrats across the board are saying we need to come together. We need to turn down the rhetoric. We need to stop this political violence. It's shocking to me that so many Republicans are not doing that, not following the lead of Speaker Johnson, but actually following the lead of Donald Trump, who's just trying to, call out extremist left-wing groups, blame this on Democrats. We heard that from my colleague Nancy Mace before we even know who the shooter is. That's not a way to solve this problem. If the president is serious about stopping political violence, then maybe he should start by rescinding the pardons for all the domestic terrorists who came to the Capitol on January 6th to kill cops, to kill Speaker Pelosi, to kill Vice President Pence. Let's have an honest conversation about the origins of this political violence and why it has risen so dramatically since Donald Trump's first term.
I wore a puffy vest and a scarf and some reflective sunglasses.
Let's get honest about this, Taylor.
Let's get honest about it. We saw that tweet you put out in the summer of 2020 with the fire emoji as your exclusive sole comment on a retweet of someone else's tweet, right?
Yeah.
Please
you
don't
put a lot into that.
Don't rescind my pardon. I've expressed this. I'm concerned about Trump rescinding pardons. To me, it should be the final thing. I understand the autopin scandal. That's kind of a big deal, right? But Trump, I met people who got released, right, from commutations from Joe Biden. Yes, they had violence in their charges, but they had a crack cocaine charge, so they got their sentences redone, right? I think the crack cocaine thing was a problem. You shouldn't have a difference between crack and cocaine. I think it destroyed the inner city communities, right, where crack cocaine was being pushed. But don't lie to me and tell me, oh, these are just nonviolent offenders. Bullshit. I met them. They're violent. He's still violent in prison, by the way. Like, these are not people who are immune to stabbing somebody. Okay? Like, in fact, the one guy I know for sure stabbed a few because he's got the, got the steer box. So, anyways, there was another January 6er that actually his cellmate got pardoned on January 19th, and then he got pardoned on January 20th. So, two cellmates in the same cell got pardoned by two separate presidents on 1 day apart. How interesting is that, right? So my friend that was a J6er, he's like, oh, please don't rescind his pardon. He's a good guy. Like, okay. This is Scott Adams, and this is a little bit of a longer clip, so I sped it up. Scott Adams talks really slow, has a lot of spacing between his words, not like my style of talking, but he has great analysis, and this hit home for a lot of us. And I think this is where a corner has been turned. So now it's just a question of, how does this thing finish? I've always maintained that there's no master plan aside from God's master plan, the tapestry of, life that he's weaving with our lives. We don't know how the story ends aside from God wins. You know what I mean? And like Steve Bannon said the other day, like, you know, I was going to turn it over to Charlie Kirk at noon. We don't know what tomorrow brings. Like, Trump could get shot tomorrow and this whole thing gets, you know, there is no trust the military. They're in charge. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to trust you. And so we don't know how this is going. Right now, Donald Trump and his people are in power. Are they going to use the tools? Are they going to be like the other ones? We're like, we don't want to be the thing we hate, so we're not prosecuting anybody. I don't know what they're going to do, but Scott Adams has an opinion, and I agree with his opinion generally.
So people say the line has been crossed and everything's different, and I don't know. But let me suggest a few things that might change. Number one, I saw Mike Cernovich helpfully point out that this would be a good time for congressional hearings now, he said in a post on X. He goes, every billionaire funding far left-wing extremism, Soros, Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, massive RICO investigation now, every dollar accounted for, every pass-through group's financial records public. What do you think of that? Now, you might say, well, you know, why haven't they done that anyway? You know, why don't we know by now everything that's happening in these NGOs? We know a lot, and we know that they're corrupt money laundering organizations, but maybe even go bigger and just make all NGOs illegal, unless they've gone through some specific kind of vetting process. Just make them all illegal. You know, not permanently. You know, you say, all right, you could be illegal, you could be legal, but you're going to have to answer all these questions in writing, you know, who's in charge and what you do and what you do with the money. You'd have to agree to be audited, you know, stuff like that. So I'm 100% in favor of the government going way more aggressive on RICO investigations for this massive criminal enterprise called Democrats. Would it work? Well, remember, the Democrats have really good lawyers and lots of them. So probably it would just get all tied up in the courts for 100 years until Trump was out of office and it all went away. But it's one thing we could do. It's one thing we could do. And I'll tell you one thing that's changed is risk tolerance. When one of your own, and by the way, I take this very personally. I didn't know Charlie personally. My only fleeting connection was he once invited me on his podcast, and I thought I was going to be dead in a few weeks, so I didn't return his message. So I never talked to him. But it's still personal. This one's personal because I consider myself a brother in arms, meaning that we were in the same war, in the same platoon. I just didn't know him personally. So the fact that he got taken out, oh, that's personal. That's personal. And so when that happens, my personal risk profile gets adjusted. When I say, oh, you mean there's a chance I'll be shot? All right, then RICO every one of these motherfuckers to the ground. I wouldn't have wanted to, you know, destroy the country by going after the billionaires and really making it that overtly political. And it would be massive destruction. Now I'm all in. I'm all in for the massive destruction. Yep, it's risky. Let's do it. Because it's something we can do. It's not directly related to Charlie, but it changes my risk tolerance. And I'm all in now. I believe the Democrat Party has to be totally dismantled. I wouldn't have said that 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I would have said the healthiest thing for the country is that there are two strong political parties battling it out in a war of ideas. But you know who else thought that? Charlie fucking Kirk. He thought that we could talk it out. His whole model was based on polite debate and doing it in public so everybody could see it. That didn't work. He got shot to death. So now we just need to destroy the entire Democrat Party. Legally, not illegally, not with guns, legally. But I'm no longer content with the Democrat Party existing in its current form with its current supporters. It could be reconstituted into something honest, but at the moment, I think it needs to be ripped out by the roots. Now, that will be very bad for the country. It will make us, at each other's throats, and it would be a bad idea if Republicans just had all the power forever, and there was no risk that they would lose it. I'm not in favor of that. Until now. Now I'm in favor of it. It would be a big risk, wouldn't it? Okay. People would get killed if it got this tense. That's very tragic. Do it anyway. We can no longer settle for the status quo. Whatever this big Democrat machine is, and again, it's not like the leadership of the Democrats, ordered the hit. I don't think that happened. But I do think that they knew that they were creating a situation that was a mortal danger to Trump supporters. They're trying to kill us indirectly by creating a situation in which somebody's going to take the shot. And that's what happened. It looks like it. It's still possible there's something about that shooter we don't know, and I might be wrong about everything. But even if I'm wrong about the motivation entirely, I'm not wrong that they're still creating a situation that it would happen tomorrow because they haven't stopped calling him Hitler. They're blaming him for the shooting. It didn't get better. It got worse. So, yes, I'm with Mike Cernovich. We need to rip open this whole billionaire game, whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
I guess we're just a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Thanks for joining the squad. Welcome to the platoon.
Yeah.
We're the POW camp. We just got back. Yeah, that was what Larry Brock in prison. He wrote a letter to a supporter telling other supporters to be good inmates, be the best examples, because he considered us the sixth prisoner of war squadron or whatever. It harkens back to Vietnam when there was a actual squadron of POWs, and it was called like the 5th POW squadron or something like that. And he said we're the 6th. And he happened to be the most highest ranking January 6th defendant in the United States military. So he assumed command. And he spent 4 months in the hole for telling people to follow the rules. Okay, so this is...
Sorry. I'm sorry for laughing.
Oh, Larry Brock is an amazing person. I fully endorse him running for representative down in Texas. He is a good man. He was the A-10 pilot.
Lieutenant Colonel. Yeah. Yep. Warthog baby. Yep. He got charged with obstruction of Congress and the misdemeanors. The obstruction of Congress charge eventually was dropped, so he ended up serving a 28-month sentence. I think he served 16 or 18 months on that in prison, and then home confinement and halfway house after that, to serve the whole time on misdemeanors. Okay. I don't worry about laughing about that anymore because I know he can take it.
Oh yeah, he can take it. He gets it. He's a big boy. He got it the whole time. That was the thing. Many of us, there were some January 6ers who, their head was in a bucket. Mm-hmm. The world hates me. Everybody hates me. This is, they lost family. They lost friends. They lost jobs. It was bad. Mm-hmm. But then there were some people that were just like, bring it. And Larry was one of those people that was like, I know what war is. I know that it's a zero sum. There's a winner and there's a loser. Right. And he was not going to go out on his knees. He has a kill count of 210. He ain't going out like a little baby beep. Right. He's going out strong. And I expect a lot from Lieutenant Colonel Larry Brock. Hopefully soon, State Representative Larry Brock. OK, so this is somebody should tag him in this so he can see it. One of our listeners needs at Larry Brock. He's down in Texas running. You'll find his page or whatever, but someone needs to tag him. Okay, this is Greg Gutfeld talking on Fox News about this whole situation. And Greg makes a good comment here about who really is causing this, whether it was direct or indirect. Oh. Maybe. Come on, do it. What is going on with my computer today, man? It's bad. Do you see how this is laid out? You don't have to show it for them.
Well, cyber attack.
Probably. Well, it's the beginning of the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Civil debate. The word, you need two sides to be civil.
Yep.
And I agree with everything Harold said except both sides. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'll tell you why. The Democrats, they didn't target politicians. They targeted people. I will never forget Joe Biden in Philly in that dark, dark speech. Mm-hmm. Tesla owners, they're not politicians. ICE agents aren't politicians. Trump supporters, demonized by the millions, they're not politicians. I mean, Trump went after individual celebrities and names. Never went after the voter. I'm not saying that the Democrats killed Charlie Kirk. That would be crazy. I see them more like an absentee parent whose violent offspring did. They knew that their parenting skills were bad because we told them about it on this show. We warned them. That's what drives me crazy is we warned them about the rhetoric over and over again. Even after attempts on Trump, the Tesla vandals, which are the product of the media and the Democrats' direct language about Elon Musk, and they still didn't change their path. Right now, a lot of them, and I exclude Harold from this because Harold has always been sincere and legit from day one. Right now, Democrats are playing catch up. They're saying the right things. They're like the parents of a mass shooter expressing sympathy for the victims. But they knew. They bought him the guns.
Yeah. You know what you did, absentee parents. I think there's a lot of truth to that, right? I think there's a lot of truth to that. One of the things with Republicans and conservatives and MAGA is they think Democrats are good people with bad ideas. We want to meet you on the battlefield of ideas. We want to debate. We want to talk about why we think your ideas do or don't work, right? Mm-hmm. But we think you're inherently a good person, right? Unalienable rights, created, made in the image of your creator. We just assume those things. We just project that expectation of ourselves onto you, that you're rational, you have best interests in mind. And again, we're only as good as the information we have. So I assume if you've never been taught capitalism, of course you would embrace Marxism. Let's talk about it. Let me introduce you to the gospel of capitalism, right?
Right. I was actually thinking about this while this clip was playing. Can you think of an example where someone with a Democrat mind sits down and lets people ask him questions like Charlie Kirk did?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Well, Tulsi Gabbard's done that. Bernie Sanders has done that. There's lots of people who have done that.
But the the quote unquote Republican kids that come up to ask these questions, are they hostile?
No, I've never seen it. Okay. I've never seen it.
Well, this is what I'm talking about.
No one on the left that I'm aware of has done the Charlie Kirk thing, where you go into the campuses and do the, prove me wrong thing.
This is what I'm saying.
There's been plenty of Democrat politicians who can sit and defend their points of view.
Okay.
1,000%.
Sure.
Right? Incompetently. I remember a Joe Rogan podcast with Tulsi Gabbard years ago, and I was like, oh, why is it so hard not to like her? Right? She's so competent. But yet I disagreed with a couple of her political opinions, which she's since changed.
So what I'm saying is, to beat this point a little bit, is when Charlie Kirk does this, it's almost like he's letting the peasants, the public, petition the government for like a redress of grievances, because they're bringing topics that he's able to explain the position. And Democrats don't do this with the public. They don't have a public interface.
No, they don't. The Democrats, this is what's so difficult, is if you get a competent Democrat, you can sit and chat policy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun, actually, right? Especially because the government's always the solution. So for a political science guy, it's like, oh, yeah, then we can manipulate these levers and carrots and sticks. But they can do that. But yet, for whatever reason, yes, their ideas don't really stand up to reality all the time. Every now and then you'll have some bureaucratic policy that's like, yes, given the fact we have to have the Department of Health and Human Services, and we are going to do some vital statistics tracking. Okay, it would be a good idea to create a database. Like that's, all right, yes, Democrats, we can talk about that, right? But their ideas don't stand up to reality in the fact that, look, when you break the nuclear family, you break society. The state cannot replace the family. I'm sorry.
But
it has never worked in the history of ever.
Charlie Kirk is willing to sit there and have his ideas attacked nonstop by public. Now, let's have somebody on the left sit at a table somewhere and defend their thoughts and policies from the public.
This is, remember the Mark Cuban video where Tucker Carlson simply says, well, how much have you donated to Ukraine? Right. Nothing. Then what are you talking about? We start with you. Right? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. They can't really withstand the heat. They might have the good talking points, but that's why they don't do that.
Right.
Okay. They rely on slander, ad hominem, and it's equally disgusting when Republicans do it, because you could defend your ideas. Right. I saw a clip of Charlie Kirk saying, I believe abortion's wrong because my belief is based in my Christian theology, but all of my political positions I can defend from a secular position through reason and logic. And I'm like, that's exactly how I feel. Right. In fact, there have been times in my life where my political opinions have not aligned with my personal opinions because reason took me to a place where I would not let the government enforce morality. But I choose a moral path. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So he at least was able to say, listen, yes, I have a belief system, but I'm not going to impose my belief system on you. So I'm going to meet you on neutral ground of debate, on neutral ground of reason and logic.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's expose the truth, the unalienable truth. Whether you believe in God or not, I can't say who your creator is or wasn't, and you can't say who mine was or isn't. And therefore, it's up to you to choose. But the thing I do know is that choice makes us fundamentally equal. It's the choices and your ability to make a choice about what you do and don't believe that makes us all equal. We all have that capacity in common. And apparently that's the image of God, the ability to choose, right? To choose good over evil, hopefully. So Republicans project this premise onto people. Democrats are not like Republicans, where they view we view Democrats as good people with maybe some bad ideas. So let's get more information. Let's go, you know what I mean? Democrats view Republicans as bad people with bad ideas. That the bad ideas stem from their rottenness in their core, their verminness. It's a completely different language, and it leads to division. This Charlie Kirk shooting is exposing that. It's bringing out the worst in some Republicans, and it's definitely bringing out the worst in some Democrats. This is a gentleman who's talking about how everything we're looking at just doesn't seem to make sense. But one thing that is doing is it's ratcheting up the division between me and my neighbor.
If you want to know the truth behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, you can't turn to the media or to the government. We've been lied to about JFK, MLK, the shooting in Butler, the shooting in Vegas, vaccines, Epstein, and countless other events. So what makes you think that this time around they'll tell us the truth? But let me tell you the indisputable facts. This event was carefully planned. It was a professional marksman that aimed perfectly at the neck, so they wanted to make a gruesome statement that free speech is no longer safe. It's not a coincidence that seconds before he got shot, the trans debate was taking place, and a few days before that, he was raising doubts about the US government being owned by the Jewish lobby. This event is perfect to raise the hate bar between liberals and conservatives. And if, God forbid, something happens to a liberal political figure, then this could lead us into civil war. And it will give the people in power every reason to crack down on free speech and take away our Second Amendment. They want us to fight amongst each other. We have to be smart and see clearly, even with all the emotions. Let's not be silent. Let's not be divided. And like Charlie, let's keep fighting for our values.
I think he's
with
right.
Words.
Huh?
With words.
With words, exactly. Yeah, these loaded words, rhetoric. Well, you can't use these rhetoric words. Fight. No. I get to use them. I get to use any words I want.
Yep.
I get to use any words I want. That is a line, free speech absolutists have this right. The moment you start restricting free speech, you have to impose.
It's over.
Well, it requires force. The moment that you allow a step into the direction of restriction of speech, okay, then it requires force. You can't, my brain to my vocal cords and my breath and my mouth, you can't get into that process. So the only thing you can do is force before to compel me not to make the thought or withhold or punish me after. But it involves imposition. Free speech absolutists understand that the moment you go after speech, you have to bring out the gag. You have to bring out the fists, the guns, the bullets, right? It's the only thing that you can cut out the tongue. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. So we should be allowed to say anything we want, including using hypothetical fighting words, but clarify, right? We want to take out the Democrat Party root and branch legally. Okay, great. Netanyahu had a little response to this. He was on with Greta Van Susteren. And, because there's been a lot of accusations that Israel's behind it. We covered some of this stuff yesterday. I'm inconclusive, okay? But Netanyahu, again, the words, the way people take everything that's happening and extend it onto larger groups, the left, the right, MAGA, the Jews, okay? This is a problem, but our leaders do it.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean,
I had no idea they were doing that.
It's not only insane, I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this, but they go. They have no limits.
Which this was yesterday, and they just found him this morning. So I don't know. Maybe he didn't know how to tip off, which is also kind of weird. I just got let known by my guys that our guy got caught. So you'll get to the bottom of it eventually.
After we tell him
we left some good breadcrumbs for you, so you should be good. This is 12 hours before they found him. So I don't know.
When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything. And promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. You know, we're carrying vermin, we're spreading disease. And people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust. Well, since then, we've learned, when people spread these lies about us, prepare yourself for the assault. And, you know, they're trying to delegitimize the state of Israel. Charlie Kirk said to me that, he wrote me this detailed letter, you have to fight the slander. These untruths, these vilifications have consequences. And he was right. But I'll tell you one thing, we're fighting on the battlefield against the terrorists and winning. And he was fighting on the battlefield of ideas. And I think he was winning. He was going to win. That's why they shot him. I hope they don't silence him. I don't think people will give in to these ridiculous, ridiculous lies.
Yeah. Man, my internet sucks. This is really annoying. It's stressing me out every time I have to put on a new video. So he's correct, right? When you go to demonize someone and you start calling vermin and things like that, bad things come. Sure. Bad things come. When you dehumanize someone, cockroach, squish, right? Yeah. We covered this in detail in season 1. I had a list of what happens to demonize people. It was some PhD student's thing, and it was like, starts by dehumanizing and separation, then it starts by creating tribal boundaries, then it starts by animalizing, right, calling them animals and monsters, then it comes into turning them into insects, and then pretty soon it's just they're unhuman and disposable.
And okay to kill.
So there's a clear, I mean, everybody's used it. Hitler used it, Pol Pot used it, Stalin used it. There's other genocides around. Here's what you need to do to make me, a peasant, hate my neighbor enough to exterminate them. Right? You got to get me to the point where they are cockroaches, and then we can make the bad things happen. That's where the rhetoric leads. This is why Republicans usually aren't behind mass murder, right? It's because you're a good person with bad ideas. We want to talk about that. We think your ideas are dumb. We don't think you're dumb. Now, some people do. Not everybody's the same, right? Clearly, you got some real right-wingers who think everybody's wrong. And, I'm not afraid of MAGA, right? I can't remember who I was saying, but, nobody is afraid of
You're not aligned with Jasmine
Nobody's
Crockett?
afraid of Charlie Kirk on the bus. No. You know what I mean? When Charlie Kirk comes walking up the street at night and you don't cross the street to stay away from him.
Right.
You're not afraid of MAGA. There's not this overwhelming violence. What MAGA is doing is they're defeating you on the battlefield of ideas, and that feels violent. It feels like an assault.
It feels upsetting for sure.
Yeah. Imagine being someone with a trans kid that you've transitioned, and here's Charlie Kirk saying, I would never do that. It's against God, blah, blah, blah.
It's very
I feel
upsetting.
very aggressive. Well, I'm not being aggressive at all. I haven't touched you. I haven't done anything. I'm just stating my ideas. If you don't like them, turn me off.
But it is very upsetting.
Oh, it's very upsetting. Yeah. And again, this comes to that inability to be self-assured and just be confident in your own walk, right? Listen, if you think what you did is good, I don't care what other people say. That is one thing that it kind of happens over life. You have these things that you kind of slowly get built up to, and then you have your big test. I remember when my son fell out of a second-story window. Okay. This was a decade ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. Whatever, 13 years ago. My son fell out a second-story window, and of course, it got covered on the local news, right? The first fall of the year. Everybody opens their windows, kids start falling out windows. This always happens. Every spring, a couple kids go to the hospital with subdural hematomas because they fell out windows. And my kid was the first of the season. There was another kid that happened just a couple days later that went down to a Tacoma hospital, got sent home and died in his sleep, because that's what happens with subdural hematomas. My kid was fortunate, went to Seattle, and they CAT scanned him and saw the bleeding and immediately went in and did brain surgery, took out part of his skull. Big deal. 13 years ago, huge deal. But online, the comments being made. These parents should have their kids taken away. Why is CPS not out there? Do they even love their kids? Right. How could they let them fall? I was sitting 5 feet away from my kid when he fell out the window. Right? He stepped up onto the thing, pushed through the screen, and it was like that. My little 3-year-old, what 3-year-old boy is not a monkey?
Right.
And we just had a newborn baby, 3 days old, that we brought home from the hospital that day. My mother-in-law opened the back window that we don't usually open because it had a low window sill that kids could climb up on. She opened the window because it was hot as heck in our house. And within minutes, my son had climbed up and pushed through the screen. Okay. Call CPS on me. Right. It was devastating to see those.
Well, that's just people that don't know the details.
Of course. Once you cast the cloak of charity, you go, okay, these are just, they're unhappy in their own lives, so they got to pick on someone else, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. They're projecting. It hurt. It was painful. It was especially painful for my wife. But then eventually it was like, opinion of others doesn't affect my opinion of myself.
Right.
And then other things happen. You're a business owner. Clients hate you, and then they love you, and they hate you, and you kind of have to steel yourself. By the time J6 came around, Google my name. I don't care, right? I lost all care for what other people think about me. So do your thing, right? Don't let the slander of others, don't let them demonize you. Be self-assured and know who you are. Always be the bridge of peace. If one thing Charlie Kirk's death teaches us, it's that the way you live your life echoes. Right. He lived his life in such a way. He was so grateful to people. He was so kind. He never acted in malice. And nobody has come forward and had a horror story of the time Charlie Kirk burned him or screwed him out of something. You know what I mean? It's all been positive. And I think that's a testament. Live your life that way. Here's a woman who's been a lifelong lefty, and she's struggling with the reaction
of the lifelong blue voter. I don't have anything else to add to this Charlie Kirk assassination horror story. What I do have to communicate is a sense of just like complete despair and horror and shame for my own political party. I have posted political content interspersed with my regular content for 10, 15, 20 years at this point. And I've never, not once, worried about being a target from violence on the left. I've barely worried about it on the right, but the way that left-wing terrorism is blooming and the way that people on the left are accepting it, supporting it, being callous, heartless. Anyways, what are you guys having for dinner? Oh, thoughts and prayers. He died for what he loved. It's disgusting. And to realize that it's just so hypocritical. Oh, gun reform this, gun reform that. But if we don't like them, right-wing terrorism this, fascism that. But if we don't like them, again, it's the reaction from the left being like, whatever. I have a pit in my stomach about how low we have sunk. It's horrible.
This is a neighbor I can get along with.
Yeah.
We can debate tax rates. Yeah. We can debate all that stuff because she's not a violent person. She's a good person, maybe with some ideas I disagree with.
Yeah.
Right. But this is someone who's like, hey, our values. But what about our values? Thomas Jefferson said, in matters of fashion, swim with the current. In matters of principle, stand like a rock. Right. She understands the inherent value of other creation. Of other people.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I disagree. I'm a lefty. I vote blue. But calling for more violence, demonizing an entire movement, I'm in her camp. I probably disagree with most of her politics. And here's the thing. Again, in this environment where you've got stuff like this being touted out. Now, for people in this audience, I assume you're conservative. Unless you're a random independent, then you're somewhere between here and the left. Okay. But either way. Right. I see you as an equal person that we can have a debate with. Right. So this is Harry Enton, who we love on CNN. Right. This is the guy that's always doing the polling. But here's the guy who's going to demonize Candace Owens. And ask yourself if what he's saying is really true. Again, when Candace Owens talks, she talks long form. She explains her opinions. She provides support for it. You can disagree or disagree. But this is his summary judgment of it. Maybe. It's a rough day on the internet.
Pray the Rosary Daily asked, even the host doesn't believe Moulton's baloney.
Stupid. But she's also
what is the possible truth about the shooting that the government has to lie about, the inconsistencies like Michael Savage was talking about?
I think it's in their nature. Okay. Recently, my family's had a discussion about sociopaths, people who lie and then go so far as to believe their own lies. I think it's in their nature. The FBI can't be wrong. When have you ever heard the FBI back backpedal.
Never.
Oh, hey, we were wrong about something. The FBI, there are parts of the FBI that are still trying to make Russiagate work, right? To not be too wrong. Okay.
I hope not.
We were just doing our job. It was predicated. Okay, it wasn't predicated, but it was only Comey, but everyone else did their jobs, right? They're really trying to never be wrong. Yesterday, Steven Crowder got a text message from some sort of ATF whistleblower, and this is where we found out about the bullet casings having trans writing on it. By the afternoon, he had a subpoena from the DOJ to come and testify about who leaked to him the ATF information.
Oh.
Okay, so
they can move fast.
So if the ATF, hold on, this is like, follow me here. If the ATF leaked to a pundit sensitive investigative material about the bullet casings, you can either assume it was an authorized leak or an unauthorized leak. Mm-hmm. If it's an authorized leak, then they want to get the information out there. Mm-hmm. Why are they subpoenaing him? Mm-hmm. To find out the whistleblower. So they leak the information, and now he has a subpoena to find out who the whistleblower is. Do you see how they're already mobilized with subpoenas to find out who's leaking information about the shooter being, pro-tranny? And now they're subpoenaing him to find out who the whistleblower is who leaked within the ATF, all in the same day. So the FBI, are they...
Maybe it's standard
Did they
procedure.
not want us to know about the tranny bullet casings? Are they, you know what I'm saying? Or was that a right winger in the ATF that leaked it because he's like, hey, this is agenda driven and it's tranny related? And now the FBI is going to go after that guy? What? You leaked it. Okay, but now we want to know who your source is. Oh, now we're down that road. Now you want to know the source. Is the damn information accurate or not? I am entitled to the truth. If it's accurate, lay off the reporter. Figure out your own thing. Don't subpoena him to go rat and tell who his source is. But also, why does it matter? Didn't they? I thought this had been released elsewhere as well. It's sus. It's sus, man. Okay, so this is Harry Enton, and I got to get this video to back up. That was, there was an inmate.
It is Friday, so there's that.
There was an inmate in prison that he had his voice verification on the phone. So in prison, you have to do voice verification, right? So you put in 15 digits to make a phone call, all your codes, and then you have to do voice verification. And in DC, it was with Global Tel-Link, my voice is my password. You had to say that. Right. That sentence. With Global Tel-Link, my voice is my password. So in the beginning, when you're there the first day and you're setting up the thing, you're in a room with a bunch of noise in the background. So you're like, with Global Tel-Link, my voice is my password. Okay,
I'm envisioning this already.
So now
in order to get the voice to match, you have to scream it.
It has to match that kind of. So some people had really screwed up their with Global Tel-Link, my voice is my password thing. So there was one inmate who apparently when he made it his, and this was like, he was there the whole time. So this is like 4 years ago. When he made it was with Global he used like a British accent. So he would sit there. He was the only inmate that had this problem. He would sit there with Global Tel-Link, my voice is my problem. With Global Tel-Link, my voice is my problem. And he'd do it over and over. And then finally he'd be like, and then the guard would come over, stop abusing the phone. And he'd be like, I can't make it work. He was the only guy that had that problem because he used some weird accent when he said his password. I don't know why I went there, but that's how I feel now. Like he said, I have a problem with inanimate objects that don't participate. And so he would if he had like a chair that wouldn't, like it was like getting squishy, like the leg was bending out because everything's plastic chairs. He would take that chair and he'd be like, he had a real anger problem with objects. I don't like objects that don't participate. All right, let me try one more time to get this thing done.
This is how we feel about the computer right now.
Yeah. But she's also disgusting, right? I mean, Candace Owens has got to be one of the most disgusting folks who ever gets airplay on any major network.
And this is actually not even the worst of Candace Owens.
She's an anti-Semite.
That's quite a lot. Yeah,
she's an anti-Semite. She's anti-gay. She's an anti-Semite. She has said stuff about the history of slavery in this country that's disgusting. Yes, it's funny insofar, that her statements make no sense. But when we really get to the core of the issue, she's just a disgusting human being, and that's the bottom line. Not only is she stupid, but she's also...
So do you notice how it's not her stance on gays? I disagree because...
No, it's just a character attack.
She's disgusting. She's a disgusting human being. Her ideas come from the disgustingness of who she is. She was created disgusting, wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the message you get. This is why Harry Enton is on CNN, even when he delivers the bad news. It's because of this, right? Because he ultimately believes that Republicans are bad people. Okay. Here is this is one of the things that kind of concerns me on a regular basis. This is some good family. I don't know where they're from. They're redoing their roof. And this is one of those tactics you do, like a time lapse video with a talk over, because I'm watching the time lapse. So this couple's redoing their roof, and they're talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting and how the right and mostly the right, they're pointing out the right. This is another one of those situations where it's like, I agree with what you're saying, but unfortunately you're coming from a place where you've accepted the narrative of these demonized people. Right. So listen to, again, people will tell you everything you need to know about him.
Kirk's dead, and before his body got cold, the far right propped his corpse up as a cudgel for their holy war. I've never seen more people within the same sentence both condemn political violence and then immediately call for political violence against their opposition. Don't be fooled. These people don't give a single shit about Charlie Kirk. They are just using his death to further their Christo-fascist agenda. And before I continue, I need to say that this revisionist history about who Kirk was is just as perplexing. I'm seeing all these heartfelt statements coming from Democratic politicians and celebrities applauding Kirk as some bastion of free speech and debate. Kirk was a reprehensible human being. He enacted his political agenda by preying upon weak-minded people. He took complex socioeconomic issues and simplified them by pointing fingers at outgroups, demonizing those groups, and then sicking his massive following on them. He was a stochastic terrorist, an adamant transphobe. He denied the genocide happening in Palestine. He believed in the subjugation of women, and with his last dying words, he was spewing racist dog whistles. Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein, and his monster shot him through the neck. And all of that said, none of us should want to live in a society where these types of killings become the norm. It's the sign of a sick and dying world, and we can both denounce this violence and also realize that Kirk and his ilk's rhetoric are why it happens. And you can see this rhetoric continuing after his death. Far-right extremists are clogging social...
If you wouldn't point out our philosophical and ideological problems, we wouldn't have to punch you. If you would stop talking against us and just let us run the world, we wouldn't have to cut your tongue out.
Practically begging to use his death as an excuse to enact massive retributory violence against Democrats or liberals or leftists. They are looking for any excuse to justify their desire to kill their opposition. As of writing this, we have no idea why Kirk was shot, yet the fucking president of the United States is already using this as an opportunity to demonize his opposition. The hypocrisy is astounding and terrifying in how callous and calculated it is. These same folks begging for blood were silent when Democratic leader of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark were assassinated in their homes. The president gave remarks from the Oval Office about Kirk's murder and said nothing about the 3 kids shot in a high school in Denver yesterday. Republican commentators are outraged that people would make light of Kirk's death and laugh their asses off at Nancy Pelosi's husband being beaten with a hammer and still to this day mock the death of George Floyd. And the reason is they don't actually give a fuck about the violence. They don't care about Kirk's death. The only thing they care about is winning, about using this situation as leverage to further their political agenda of turning this country into a Christo-fascist authoritarian state. And the Democrats, by normalizing Kirk and cosplaying norms, are allowing them to cling to this martyr narrative. The only thing that matters to these people is ensuring that the fictitious world they've created is the one that dominates, and they will hang the corpse of Charlie Kirk on their banner if it means that they'll win.
I didn't know that what was going on. I've seen the light.
Now I get it. This is the danger of demonizing people, because he's here going, well, you want a Christo-fascist state. What? Is that what you take from we're a Christian nation? Yeah. You want to impose all your values on us. It's not kind of American version of Christianity.
Like morals, just basic morality.
Your delusional worldview?
I guess.
There's no morality. These are good people, I'm sure, right? But they've been demonized by listening to people like Harry Enton, who can just say, Candace Owens is a horrible person. Yeah. So then they view what their arguments are as an extension of that. This is someone who probably never, ever listened to Charlie Kirk do a debate. And that's the thing with people like Charlie, people like us who put out hours and hours and hours and hours of content. Yeah, you could clip this up and find some little clip of me saying something dumb. But a minute later, I go clarify, or I expose that was satire or a joke, or you know what I'm saying? Charlie Kirk was the same way. He was very clear on his beliefs, but he was also very open about you can believe what you want to believe. But I invite you to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, right? This is Jim Acosta talking with Officer Fanone from J6 fame. Fanone doesn't have anything to say here, which is, I probably wouldn't have played the video if he had said anything, because he's someone that I personally struggle with as a human being, not because he's not a child of God or anything, but because I believe he's a liar and a perjurer. But either way, and more of an actor than a law enforcement officer.
I mean, there's exploitation going on of his death. And it's happening on the right, and it's absolutely disgraceful, and it's sending us down a course where more people are probably going to get hurt. And I mean, that to me that's where I kind of held my breath yesterday, is that, I think we're now in a moment, and there's not a whole lot you and I can do about this, Mike. You and I can talk about this until we're blue in the face or red in the face or whatever. There's not a whole hell of a lot we can do to stop what is now, I think, happening, which is we're going to be in this eye for an eye moment. People on the far right are going to use this moment. Yeah, I mean, there's
on the far right are going to use this moment. We're now in an eye for an eye. Okay, so who are the Democrats that have been assassinated recently by Republicans?
Let me think.
All right, who are they?
Let me think. Hold on. I got it.
Hold on. Let's go back. So Lincoln was assassinated by a Democrat. Okay, that's that one. McKinley was assassinated by a Democrat. Okay, there's that one. All right, let's see. Alexander Burr. He was a Democrat Republican, so he's kind of a weird one. Let's see. Who else is there? Let's see. MLK shooter was a leftist, but they called him far right. It was kind of a weird deal because MLK went left, but he was really right. It was kind of a weird deal. All right, let's see. RFK was killed by the CIA. Okay. According to Robert Kennedy Jr. Okay, let's see. It wasn't Sirhan. It's good. I'm trying to think here. Okay. Reagan was shot by a Hinckley, a leftist, cousin of the Bushes. That was a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Lenin.
What about JFK?
JFK. Well, he was shot by the CIA. So.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah, and the government at that point was actually Democrat. The Democrats shot their own Democrats. So,
jeez.
Right. I'm trying to think of any Republican shooters. I'm trying to find any. Have any Republicans shot up a mosque recently? Has that happened at all? No, has that happened? I know there was kind of a Christian-y guy, as anti-Israel, went into I guess he did that. I guess there was the shooting on the synagogue. The Tree of Life Synagogue or whatever it was called. I think that guy was a Christian extremist. I think that was, so there's one. I think we're going about like 72-1, right? I mean, really, truly go through all the significant either mass shootings or shootings and find one where the guy is a legitimate conservative Republican.
Right.
Find one. Now, if you say a guy who's a white supremacist that's KKK is far right, okay, now you're just a Democrat trying to disown your history. Okay, if they're far right, Ku Klux Klan, they're actually on the left, buddy. Okay? So Acosta was a bad reporter anyways. But clearly he's got this one wrong. This is Stephen Smith. His reaction is great. Stephen Smith, you cannot underestimate this guy's influence. When I was in prison, I would watch inmates specifically go to watch his show. He's a sports commentator. He delves into politics. He's wildly influential to people who do not follow politics, right? A big majority of our country is more interested in the football game, the basketball game, right, rather than politics. Because for us, politics is like our WWE. We're sitting back and watching. There's a lot of people that don't do that with politics. They watch sports.
Even though I don't believe the poll numbers and all the exit numbers for elections, it always boggles my mind how, we have 330 million people here and only a certain percentage of them could make it out to vote.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, what is wrong with people's civics?
Yeah.
Come on.
So Stephen A. Smith is an important voice to I call this the zeitgeist, right? The zeitgeist is just kind of what's in the air. What's in the air is the Democrats are in charge. What's in the air is we're a secular society. What's in the air is separation of church and state, separation of church and state. What's in the air is certain people bad, certain people good. And so people on ESPN can just casually say something like, I'm thinking of like Troy Aikman when the planes flew over and he goes, this won't be happening in a Biden administration, as if, waste of money. It's like they can make those snide comments, which then reinforce the zeitgeist. They can make us, and it happens all the time. Like Steve Kerr will make some insane comment where you're like, dude, you're not even citing a fact and you're using it as a slander on the person. That was the difference with Charlie Kirk. He would always be like, what statistic have I said that's wrong? He was always right about his numbers, right? And his statistics. People are like, you're just pulling stats out of thin air. He's like, you're the one who pulls stats out of thin air. My stuff, this gets clipped. It goes on the internet. People do debunking of what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Charlie was pretty good about being on
There's
top of it.
There's not a lot of debunking clips.
Not a lot of debunking clips of Charlie. So this is Stephen A. Smith, and this is good. He's reminding the country this is about life. Right? He's trying to remind the country that our political opponents are real people.
I'm a black man born in America. I know what problems that exist in this country, but I also know there's far more good people than there are bad people in this country, regardless of who you are, what your ethnic background is. White, black, Hispanic, and beyond. I'm in a studio here in Las Vegas, and I'm looking outside, and I see people looking at me and smiling and saying, what's up, Stephen? They don't look anything like me. And I don't care because they're showing me love and I'm showing love right back to them. At some point in time, we got to recognize, can't just speak about it. Can't just give lip service to when such a vile act takes place. And we're going to give lip service to the tragedy of the moment. And then within 24 hours, we move on with our lives like nothing happened. Something did happen. Don't care what his political beliefs were. I don't care what he felt. I care about the fact that a man was gunned down in front of two of his children who are 5 years of age or less. That he's dead at the age of 31. That his wife is a widow. That his children are fatherless. Because his ideas and his beliefs differed from somebody else, apparently. And then I'm going online and I'm seeing people celebrating it. Shame. Shame on you.
Shame on him.
Absolutely.
He's right. Okay, so some updates. Let's see if I can get my freaking Twitter to show up here. I don't like it when inanimate objects don't participate. Okay, so Tyler Robinson is the shooter's name. He's known Antifa, actual Antifa.
Oh,
okay.
Huh.
So we know that, or at least that's what they're telling us. That's what they're saying. So he's known Antifa. And, oh man, there's a couple clips I just grabbed, but unfortunately X is not cool. Maybe when we go to private, I'll like reboot and try to come back in. Okay, so this is two things here. First of all, I want to play this. We now know Tyler Robinson is connected with Antifa. And Donald Trump, when we go on private, if I can get my stuff to reboot, I can pull this new clip. But Donald Trump just said that George Soros is behind all this and they're going to be investigating them for RICO because George Soros has been training youth to become violent. I know that for a fact. George Soros funnels money into groups that support Antifa. Antifa people don't usually have jobs. And when they do, they're like, the gas station attendant and stuff like that. But they get funded to travel and they get funding to go do these things and they get paid a wage to go to certain protests. And I know in the January 6th crowd, which got pardoned along with everyone else, there were at least 120, 140 known Antifa people that were accused of violence at the Capitol that were there. And they just kind of got lumped in with us. Right. I know because one of these guys that was Antifa was 2 doors down from me in the cell block and, persona non grata, right? But he was Antifa. And there were quite a few others that we absolutely know. Like you can go through their social media. They are Antifa. And in my opinion, right, They got the party started. Okay. So anyways, that money, that Soros money, always has a foreign flavor to it. It always, goes to Ukraine and goes to here and then comes back over here, gets bundled through Act Blue. So John Solomon is reporting that that there's foreign connections potentially.
I have a source in the intelligence community, John, that said that there might be post-assassination pieces of a puzzle that might be put together, that there might be a foreign component to it. Again, we don't know for sure. I know it's being discussed. Have you heard the same thing?
Yes, there is a group or two of interest that are in the Salt Lake City area that they're looking at, just because of certain recent activities overseas and certain intelligence shared by a foreign friendly from the United States. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is connected to the shooting. I suspect, though, it's going to result in some action, even if it's not tied to the shooting. But there is a small foreign component that's being looked at. Again, all leads are open. I don't think they've locked into a final theory of the case yet.
Have a source in
Okay. So Trump this morning said we're going after Soros using RICO. Soros funds those groups. John Sullivan was from that Provo Orem area. John Sullivan was the guy that I had this trial right before me and all that kind of stuff. So and I ended up taking his cell when I was in solitary. He came out of solitary and I went in. Anyways, I wouldn't be surprised if we're saying there's a foreign connection. We don't know if it's connected to the shooter. They're going after the Antifa in Salt Lake and they're following the money out. That's what they're doing. So it may or may not be connected to the shooter directly, but if he's Antifa affiliated, boop, that's enough. Okay, so for those of you wondering who's going to replace Charlie Kirk, I really love this. I think this is Larry O'Connor, I think is his name. I haven't listened to him much. Maybe once or twice I've listened to his stuff. But Larry O'Connor is one of these guys that was affected by Andrew Breitbart, was influenced by Andrew Breitbart. And if people remember, Andrew Breitbart himself was murdered quite a few years ago. And a lot of people thought that was an end of an era. But what happened was a lot of people picked up the torch. And that's what this guy's addressing.
Replaced Andrew Breitbart? We all replaced Andrew Breitbart. Not one person could have done it. But Ben Shapiro and his skill set, you better believe he filled in a gap that Andrew left. Dana Lash, same thing. Joel Pollack, same thing. Alex Marlowe, same thing. Andrew Klavan, same thing. Steven Crowder, same thing. These are all people who Greg Gutfeld, same thing. Jesse Waters, these are all people who were, Steve Bannon, all people who were touched by and influenced by and inspired by Andrew Breitbart. We all did our part and we all filled in that space in our own way. We all replaced Andrew. So who will replace Charlie Kirk? Well, I'll answer it this way. Just a couple of years ago, Charlie and I participated in a panel at CPAC. It was 2022. It was the 10-year anniversary of Andrew Breitbart's death. And we put together a panel of people to sort of honor and remember the legacy of Andrew. And Mercedes Schlapp and Matt Schlapp, who run CPAC, said, we're going to get Charlie Kirk on the panel. And I was like, oh, I love Charlie. That's great. But wait, Charlie never knew Andrew. He never worked with him. And Mercedes said, talk to Charlie. He'll explain. And I called Charlie because I was moderating the panel. And I said, hey, dude, but you're going to do the Breitbart panel? He goes, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. And I said, can you just share with me what you want to talk about and stuff? Because everyone else on the panel had worked with Andrew. We were going to talk about our experience with him and what we knew about him and all that stuff. And Charlie Kirk said, he said to me, yeah, I never met Andrew, but he was so inspirational to me as a teenager in high school. He was amazing what he did. And I was so inspired by his fight. And the day he died, I swore that I was going to pick up that torch. And I was going to do whatever I can do to keep Andrew's memory alive. That was 2012. That was right when Turning Point USA was created. Charlie replaced Andrew Breitbart. And every single one of you right now watching this, listening to this, you all know someone in your life, or maybe that person is you, who will now be inspired by everything Charlie did and everything Charlie stood for, and inspired by that righteous anger that you feel right now because he has been ripped away from us by that abomination, that despicable bullet, and the evil entity that ended Charlie's life. Whoever you are out there, you are Charlie Kirk. You're going to fill that space.
We are Charlie Kirk. We are Charlie Kirk. Each and every one of us can be Charlie Kirk. So don't forget to repost the show. Go hit the little repost, hit the likes. I was shocked yesterday at how much bump we got by you guys doing that. So please do not forget to repost the show and like the show. Just write in Rumble. Just write in Rumble. We're just focusing on Rumble for now, okay? You don't need to go repost it on X or anything, although if you'd like to, whatever. All right. Last clip before we head over to private and I reset my internet and see if I can get this thing to work right. When you ask a question, why construction takes so long, and I'd like to go ahead and extend this out. You already know what clip this is.
This is great.
I'd like to extend this out to anything where you expect the government to provide an answer for you. This is pretty much what it all boils back down to. Here we go. Oh, by the way, in construction, when I first got into construction, I thought I'm my own boss. And I realized I wasn't my own boss. I was at the beck and call of the county. Okay?
It's not my fault I'm behind schedule.
The question is why construction takes so long. Starts out with the painter.
Drywallers haven't finished. Drywall isn't finished because the HVAC hasn't been roughed in. HVAC isn't roughed in because the electrical guy's got to move his wire. I can't move my wire because the plumber's in the goddamn way. I'm in the goddamn way because the wall hasn't been framed up. The walls haven't been framed up because the concrete isn't poured. The concrete isn't poured because the excavator guy was taking a nap. I was taking a nap because the city guy didn't give us the permits. I didn't approve the permits because I just don't care about anything. I mean, look, the screen isn't even on. Good luck getting something approved. Try again next year.
That's every day of my life.
That's every day of your life. I do. I watch you come in and check your emails, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm not working today. You're waiting for the county to tell you the next thing you can do. You're like, all right, check my emails tomorrow morning. And then you'll get an email and be like, oh, I got something to do. All county driven. All right, guys, we're going to jump over into the private. Thank you so much for joining us today. The big theme of the show is this. Look, we're peasants. We have opinions. We have an opinion about what ideology we prefer and what we like and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're peasants. We have to live here, whether it's under the United States government or the government of the state of, Timbuktu, or whether you're in Somalia. You got to live on the land. You have to provide for your family. That's the peasant's perspective. I care about how things affect me, we, and us. Right? I don't care about your ideology if it doesn't serve me. And I don't care that you have an opinion. You do you, boo. Right? We can debate all day about tax rates. And in so much as we have a government that represents us, then we want to project onto our government. But we have to live in reality. We cannot let the divisions on debates over tax rates divide us and make us demonize each other. Republicans generally feel, and conservatives, that everybody's a good person. They just might have some bad ideas. Democrats, in my opinion, go the other direction. They say you're rotten in your core and you deserve to go. And that's why they cannot see the difference between our rhetoric and their rhetoric. We're trying to help them. We're trying to save them. We're trying to get them to save themselves. They're trying to eliminate us. Scott Adams said it best. The Democrats will start hunting conservatives. And that was about 5 years ago. And his words have become more and more true. Again, when was the last time a far lefty was assassinated? And unfortunately, now we're in a climate that if one happened, I throw my hands up because ops and counter ops and who knows, right? The zeitgeist is Charlie was killed. We're going to have to deal with that narrative for a long time. Details be damned. Okay. 9/11 happened. Al-Qaeda was behind it. Or not. Details be damned. For 20 plus years now, we've lived with the reality that Al-Qaeda was behind it and Osama bin Laden. Right?
Well, I'm actually afraid that the left is so crazed over kicking off a civil war. They might actually kill some of their own just to frame it and make it look like a Republican.
And they're saying that, oh, dude, I'll never forget in prison, Trump gets shot and there's a contingency of black guys that are always the haters. That's fake. They set that up. Joy Reid still says it was a setup. Oh, they just grazed his ear. I don't know, man. I mean, you're playing that whole put the apple on your head and shit. Yeah. Like, I don't know that I'd be like, yeah, you good enough shot just to make the ear about a centimeter away from my temporal lobe?
Yeah, I'm okay with this plan.
I don't know. But they were like, oh, it's fake. That's not real blood. You know, they had this whole thing on it instantly. I mean, we're within seconds, Ron. It wasn't like they waited for a commentator to say it. They already had that preset opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can't really believe anything. And I'm a little bit like that too. Like, can't believe anything sometimes, right? There's always a possibility we want to look, but the zeitgeist is, and that's what we have to deal with. That's what we have to fight against. The details almost sometimes don't matter.
So I'm going to play the closer while you reboot, but we are coming back.
Yeah, we are coming back. All right. We're playing the closer and we're coming back while I reboot.
Ma'am, sorry. What knight lives in that castle over there? I'm 37. What? I'm 37. I'm not old. Well, I can't just call you ma'am. You could say Dennis. I didn't know you were called Dennis. Well, you didn't bother to find out, did you? I did say sorry about the old woman, but from behind you looked... What I object to is you automatically treat me like an inferior. Well, I am king. Oh, king, eh? Very nice. And how'd you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers. By hanging on to outdated imperialist dogma which perpetuates the economic and social differences in our society. If there's ever going to be any progress... Dennis, there's some lovely filth down here. Oh, how'd you do? How do you do, good lady? I am Arthur, King of the Britons. Whose castle is that? King of the who? The Britons. Who are the Britons? Well, we all are. We are all Britons. And I am your king. I didn't know we had a king. I thought we were an autonomous collective. You're fooling yourself. We're living in a dictatorship. A self-perpetuating autocracy in which the working classes... Oh, there you go, bringing class into it again. Well, that's what it's all about. If only people would... Please, good people. I am in haste. Who lives in that castle? No one lives there. Then who is your lord? We don't have a lord. What? I told you. We're an anarcho-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Order? Who does he think he is? I'm your king. Well, I didn't vote for you. You don't vote for kings? Well, how'd you become king, then? The Lady of the Lake. Her arm clad in the purest shimmering samite held aloft Excalibur from the bosom of the water, signifying by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur. That is why I'm your king. Listen, strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony. Be quiet. But you can't expect to wield supreme executive power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you. Shut up! I mean, if I went round saying I was an emperor, just because some moistened bint had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away. Shut up! Will you shut up? Ah, now we see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up! Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed! Bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about. Did you see him repressing me? You saw it, didn't you?
The virus jumped to you?
I don't know. It's acting weird.
I can hear myself, which means you're doing something.
It's, I don't know if it's private or not. Gosh. Well, I guess just go forward.
All right, we're rolling. My internet came back. Sounds like the virus jumped over to your computer. That's really funny to me. Okay, this is David Axelrod. Who is David Axelrod? David Axelrod is Barack Obama's closest advisor. This guy is basically Barack Obama's spirit animal. Whatever David Axelrod says, this is coming straight out of the brain or into the brain of Barack Obama, depending on how you want to think of that. But David Axelrod yesterday was like, we got to change our language about this war thing. Now, keep in mind, Chris Murphy just 48 hours ago said a little something different about war. Clickety, click, click, clickety, click, click. Look at the clicker go.
We're private.
Oh, great. Good. So not so many people can see our embarrassment and shame here. Now my internet caught the virus again. Holy smokes. This is nuts.
Specific meanings. When you say we're in a war after someone has been shot, it's really an invitation to other people to commit acts of violence. And that's a despicable thing.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
Wars have
Chris Murphy must be eating his words. You have to do whatever is necessary to save the country. Pew, pew, like the one commentator earlier said.
Yeah.
Oh, we're anti-violence until pew, pew.
Yeah.
So David Axelrod is just backpedaling. Don't say war. They're going to pin it on us. Yeah, exactly. This is Representative Bob Onder. And again, the language, right? Listen to his language here.
Well, what for us? Well, everything has changed. If we didn't know it already, there is no longer any middle ground. Some of the American left are undoubtedly well-meaning people, but their ideology is pure evil. They hate the good, the truth, and the beautiful, and embrace the evil, the false, and the ugly. And they literally will kill those with whom they disagree, just as their predecessor leftists Marx and Stalin and Lenin and Pol Pot and Fidel Castro did. We must know that. And well, what for us? Well,
yeah, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's unfortunate. There have been right-wing dictators. I mean, there was one down in Chile once, and people love to pretend like Adolf Hitler was right-wing, but he wasn't. It was the National Socialists, right? No, he's not wrong. But it's not, they're well-meaning people, but their ideology is evil. And, I hate that term evil and good. I struggle with it. Obviously, you have to use it because they're adjectives that need to describe
it's got built-in judgment.
It's got built-in judgment. But, God created the earth in whatever time he did it. He looked at his creation and he called it good. Right. So everything in this creation, God calls good. So why would I mock God and call part of his creation evil? Mm-hmm. Right. Again, I'm projecting the goodness because God called the earth good. Mm-hmm. So my underlying preposition is that everything is good. Mm-hmm. And then as fallen men, we introduce the evil. Mm-hmm. Okay. They don't necessarily believe that. Why? Go listen to what Tim Kaine said. He's not even sure your rights come from your creator. What does that mean? It comes from law.
Best available science.
Best available science. So this is Donald Trump this morning on Fox and Friends. And it sounds like they're going to go after Soros for RICO.
I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. They get paid for it. They're profession from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because.
Okay, what happened here was he went to a dinner and Code Pink showed up and was 10 feet away from the president protesting.
Wow.
First of all, how'd they know he was going to be there? Where's the Secret Service?
How'd he get so close?
Exactly. And Code Pink is funded by Soros. Okay. So he's like, who tipped you off that I was coming here? This is like Secret Service leaking type scenario. And you got really close. Happened to JD Vance too.
Case against him and other people, because this is more than like protest. This is because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people, because this is more than like protest. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about our country with that? Because we have radicals on the right.
I had one the other night.
Oh, we have radicals on the right. I wish I could have finished that sentence. Yeah, I know. I pardoned them. Oh, no. All right, guys, that I think is going to finish the show for us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for sticking around through our technology issues. I didn't get to see any of the chats today because my internet wasn't working, and is what it is. All right, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it very much. Doug, if you're still listening, thank you so much for your sweet message, and we will talk to you guys again Monday.
What knight lives in that castle over there? I'm 37. What? I'm 37. I'm not old. Well, I can't just call you man. You could say Dennis. I didn't know you were called Dennis.
Well, you didn't bother to find out, did you?
I did say sorry about the old woman, but from behind you looked...
What I object to is you automatically treat me like an inferior.
Well, I am king.
Oh, king, eh? Very nice. And how'd you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers. By hanging on to outdated imperialist dogma which perpetuates the economic and social differences in our society. If there's ever going to be any progress...
Dennis, there's some lovely filth down here. Oh, how'd you do?
How do you do, good lady? I am Arthur, King of the Britons. Whose castle is that?
King of the who?
The Britons.
Who are the Britons?
Well, we all are. We are all Britons. And I am your king.
I didn't know we had a king. I thought we were an autonomous collective.
You're fooling yourself. We're living in a dictatorship. A self-perpetuating autocracy in which the working classes...
Oh, there you go, bringing class into it again.
Well, that's what it's all about. If only people would...
Please, good people. I am in haste. Who lives in that castle?
No one lives there.
Then who is your lord?
We don't have a lord.
What? I told you. We're an anarcho-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week.
Yes.
But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting.
Yes, I see.
By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs.
Be quiet.
But by a two-thirds majority in the case of more...
Be quiet. I order you to be quiet.
Order, who does he think he is?
I am your king.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
You don't vote for kings.
Well, how did you become king, then?
The Lady of the Lake, her arm clad in the purest shimmering samite, held aloft Excalibur from the bosom of the water, signifying by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur. That is why I'm your king. Listen, strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Be quiet.
Oh, but you can't expect to wield supreme executive power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you.
Shut up!
I mean, if I went round saying I was an emperor, just because some moistened bint had lobbed a scimitar at me, they'd put me away.
Shut up! Will you shut up?
Ah, now we see the violence inherent in the system.
Shut up!
Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system. Help, help, I'm being repressed.
Bloody peasant!
Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about. Did you see him repressing me? You saw it, didn't you?